11/25/2016. Scott Henser, Tinfoil Hat Club. This whole week has been dedicated to Montauk. And if you've been following, especially on Wednesday when I was talking about the Montauk boys and the relation to the pedophile, the human trafficking, sex slavery, the stuff that's going on today, again, I've noticed that everything seems to, like casting a reel, go back to Montauk, go back to Project Paperclip, back to, Nazi Germany. All the stuff that's going on is, again, everything based in evil, just evil. Because when you do such things to innocent people, there's no other way to look at it, all right? Now, next week, I'm going to be talking on several subjects, but I want to talk about tripwire. Now, I'm not sure if how many are familiar with that. The NSA, the CIA, Interpol, MI5, MI6 basically use a network system that has to do with cameras. So in London, the British area, just cameras everywhere. Now, you'll note in the United States that we've got cameras everywhere too, especially in the intersections. When you look at one camera, whether you're in Phoenix, that's in an intersection, and you go to, let's say, New York, it's basically the same brand. So whoever sold these cameras may not like a champ. But the point of it is with facial recognition, license plate reading, the ability to track and control along with satellites and everything else, it's all tied together. So I want to talk about that, and that particular system is called tripwire. Now, also I'm going to be talking about Pizzagate, pedophilia, all the scandals going on with that, the Clinton, the Bushes, Obama, all of, believe me, they're all in this together. The human trafficking, and, again, we have to talk about it. How can I not talk about it? I mean, as a exorcist deliverance minister to set people free, many of them have been victims of this. So it's just part of the business. It's unfortunate because those who were victimized by it suffer in silence for many years. Many act out terribly. Many go on to be pedophiles themselves. And that, by the way, is a curse which can be broken. If the true, Great Commission of Jesus Christ had been brought into, the mainstream churches, as it should have been, then we wouldn't have the issues that we have. So being victimized, being controlled, being utilized in all kinds of evil sense, I have to throw onto the shoulders of the churches. Many, many years have gone by now where I've tried to bring into the churches this issue and get thrown out on my keister every time. So, time's run out, and so here we go. Now, again, I really want to thank everyone for supporting. I'm able to do this. I'm going to be able to continue on because of your support. Thank you. I'm trying to do the best I can as a one-man show here. And by the way, tomorrow I'm going to be dedicating solely to callbacks. With Thanksgiving yesterday and then trying to finish up my research today, I didn't get much done. But tomorrow I'm dedicating for that. I give myself off on Sundays now. I just don't do anymore. Once in a while, but I burned myself out. I was doing this 7 days a week, 10, 12, 14-hour days, 3 o'clock in the morning making, overseas calls. And I've got to, I'm 60 years old now. I've just got to time myself. So I'm going to do the best I can with the calls that I have and get caught up. And so be expecting my call if you're on the list. Well, again, with deliverance and praying for people, remember that my book, Hoodoo Voodoo, the condensed version of Second Heaven Invasion, is available in paperback, also available on Kindle. All links coming off of either from scotthensler.org or even connecting with tinfoilhatclub.com. Either way you can get to it. But the book itself has the details of what demons are, all about angels, curses, reversing curses, Freemasonry, spiritual warfare, whatever's necessary for these days, that the hard copy you can keep, basically in your arsenal of, fighting back and use it as necessary. So that's what I wrote it for, period. Now, if you're not familiar with scotthensher.org, if you're a new listener, just to tinfoil, that was the older website and the older show, and everything is archived, everything's there. It's still kept up to date. Everything's, it's not as if it's years old or anything like that. Everything's still current. So I encourage you to go there. Now, if you're really bored, I did almost 2 years on Walking Among Spirits. And so there'll be walkingamongspirits.com, or you can link off of the links off of that, scotthensher.org. So there you go. Anything that we've ever talked about from A to Z is there. Believe me, we covered a lot when I was on that show, even when I was over in Taiwan. Well, tonight's show, finishing up on Montauk, the CERN connection. Now, as I talked about on Monday, basically was, an introduction and, looking over all aspects and tying everything together. Then on mind control on Tuesday, those things that are electronic, those things that have other, MK Ultra and so forth. And then coming in on Wednesday for the Montauk boys, trauma-based mind control, the experiments that were done on there. Just an absolute horrific situation for kids. And as I go into next week and tie some more of that together with the issues that we're discussing, being discussed lately, you'll get a better understanding of those who are in office, those who are in political stances that that should be protecting and serving us or not. They're literally using us to feed their own appetite of sexual perversion on children, and that's your children, ladies and gentlemen. That's your grandchildren. Everyone, no one is safe from it. See, that's the problem. When I talked about the numbers on Wednesday, those numbers, many of them can come off of the FBI statistics, but you also have websites that are dedicated to lost and missing children, and their numbers say quite a different story. So whatever the numbers are, the fact that one is missing is unacceptable. And so whatever it takes to bring this to an end and stop it, I would just love to be able to find a child that has been abducted, and the prayers to get them released, to bring the perpetrators to justice. Absolutely. Well, again, tonight we're going to be talking about, the CERN, the Hadron Collider, the Super Collider, the occult connection, those things of the supernatural, interdimensional, those things that are connected with it. The opening of the veil, mind control even with this, and believe me, the connection back to Montauk is very strong on this, okay? All right? And not to forget about the Mandela effect, okay? The altering of known facts. Things that were known are now different. When you look back at a book, or you look at a movie, or you even look in Scripture, things have changed. And this is one of the effects of going back in time. Otherwise, somebody goes back, they put themselves in a position where they can alter and make that tape reel of time, because once something's altered from that point forward, it's altered on. Okay, and that reel that gets set brings into today. And so many, otherwise the altering that has the magnitude of the altering hasn't been prior to you being born. So the fact that you remember something now that it's changed changes in its facts in the book, but you remember in your mind something different. And again, so that's the Mandela effect. Now, of course, with CERN, great concerns with entities entering into this dimension, piggybacking, okay, to full gateways. Now, when I say piggybacking, whenever you go into the spirit realm, whenever you go into dimensions, we see in the Old Testament that those who did such things, clairvoyance, necromancy, sorcery, witchcraft, and I've talked heavily about that in the past week, that it's an abomination. And when you do such a thing, the violation allows demons, fallen angels, to have legal rights. And in that legal right, they literally can come and go on the back of an individual that may be astral projecting, someone who's time traveling, because basically instead of using the mind, you're using electronic means, that in this, that they come and go. You open that veil and these things slip in, okay? So time machines, going back into history and changing things and events, the paradigm shift, those things, again, were never meant to be. And because they are taking place, then the availability to the demonic has been given to them. And this is also the aspect of, doing rituals. Whenever you do crimes against the innocent, you shed blood, spill it, you use witchcraft, you use divination, it's basically the same thing. And so these things then has been happening for such a long time that this world's infiltrated with it. And as I go down the list here with CERN, and again the connection with Montauk, you'll see that this has been taking place for a very long time, and this is why we've got what we've got today. So reminding everybody that with the invisibility operations that were taking place in 1930, starting in Chicago, going to Princeton, then the Philadelphia Naval Yard, 1940, Montauk Island, 1980. Now, I did a show maybe almost a year ago, that in the 90s, from the 80s and the 90s, in Texas, there was a very large hadron collider, particle collider that was to be built there, and they did the underground facility. They supposedly changed their mind, ripped everything up, and took it out, and the underground facility is still there. The tunnels, miles and miles long, and they moved everything to Geneva, Switzerland, which also crosses over into France. That was about 2000 on. Now, with them finishing this and turning it on and tweaking and doing their test and whatever, their basic idea that they say is for smashing subatomic particles. Okay, basically accelerating them to close to the speed of light. Now, you need to understand that on the planet itself, that whenever you have something that has to pass through, so otherwise electricity passing through wires, radio waves passing through particles, that when you have a constant of speed of light, that through any other variable, it slows down. Okay, so the effect that they've been able to do is close to the speed of light. Now, I've also talked about that speed of light can be exceeded. It has been done, and in those experiments shows an intelligence, shows a divine intelligence, that the scientist that actually was doing this, when he discovered this, supposedly he committed suicide because he couldn't, deal with the fact that, there was such a phenomenon that took place. But in my understanding of things, that in reality he was willing to go public with it, and they made sure that he did not. Okay. Now, in this, that they've also said that they have discovered the God particle. Okay, relation to the Higgins field. Now, notice when we say field, electromagnetic field, field of energy, whether it's light, radio wave, whether it's through atomic means, whatever it is, whenever you have a field, you have a potential. When you have a potential, you have pressure. Now, same thing with energy in itself. That in itself is a potential, meaning that you could take let's say a spring, a compressing spring, you compress it and you hold it. When you release it, it has a potential of energy of pushing back. Whenever you fill up a water balloon, the pressure in it wants to push back, you have a potential of pressure. Whenever you have batteries, you have a potential of electrical force, EMF, okay, electromotive force. So whenever you have a field in this sense, or in this technology of Higgins and what they're talking about time and space. They're talking about moving atoms, crushing, splitting, doing the things that we were never intended to do. And with this, because, those things that were tied with Montauk and the Philadelphia experiment, by using radio waves at high energy, hence, Tesla, that they're able to manipulate, push, shove, open, redirect, curving time and space to what they want. Now, again, they didn't have computers the way they have now, and so it's one of the reasons that the Philadelphia went south the way that it did, along with some other things I talked about in '83, the same time of 40 years later. But in either case, they've gotten to a point with, the assistance of aliens, /reptilians, also with fallen angel technology, since reptilians and aliens come from the seed line of fallen angels, and do not be duped into thinking anything else. The point of it is that they have come to a level, especially with artificial intelligence. You noted that in the mind control, and I was talking about Montauk, that they, through psychic abilities, which again is an abomination, that in that ability with artificial intelligence and recording, that they've been able to harness a knowledge, quantum computing, amplitude that they've never been able to do before. So they ventured into a new world that we as humans just really can't, discern. And the point of it is this has taken us to a system that is very dangerous, the beast system. Again, we're in the end times, and if you wondered how that was going to play out, as I go through this will explain it to you. So this whole thing in itself, the creation of the Big Bang, that's what they're doing, meaning that creation in theory was from the Big Bang, but we know, those who are Bible-believing, or I should at least say bondservants of Jesus Christ, that God is the creator, and in his spoken word, that was the Big Bang. So those who try and disprove God and would want Lucifer as their God, this is what they would do. But in either sense, this should be absolutely alarming to all of us, the fact that they have come to this point. Now, we look at the Tower of Babylon, that when it came to the understanding that they had gone to the point that they did, that there was divine intervention. And in that divine intervention, then they were not able to completely achieve, but they have come to this level now. And so it will be interesting to see the chess piece that God is going to bring forth. Okay? Now, you need to remember, when we talk about the Big Bang, when we talk about the God particle in Higgs field and smashing atoms, we're basically talking about a controlled nuclear detonation. All right? Now, when I've talked about this before, that with the Manhattan Project, when they detonated, plus, after World War II, with the testing, the Cold War that went on, in that experiment, in their experiments of the atomic bomb, they were able to monitor things coming indimensionally during their detonation. So otherwise, in the mass pressure of atoms to be pushed out of the way, to be manipulated, to be curved, to have those things altered, that the veil was opened up and things came and go, and it was able to be witnessed. Now, I can remember Bikini Island, when they did the experiment, and they actually had troops, they actually had naval personnel on ships that were there to witness it. One gentleman who, they were told to look down because they didn't want to look directly at it when they detonated it, that the crew that were sitting on the deck in a sitting position with their knees up and their heads down, like in a crash position, that when that detonated, they literally said that they were able to see their skeletons through. So their eyes were closed, they were looking down, with their arm over them. They could see their skeleton when it was detonated. Now, one of the last survivors of Bikini, the last pictures that I saw him, his hand was the size of a catcher's mitt. Horrible, horrible radiation sickness. And you need to understand that the scientists knew quite well that this was going to take place to these gentlemen, to these people in the military. The ones that were here to serve our nation were used as guinea pigs. And this so-called government has been doing this to us for a very, very long time. And so, believe me, CERN is no different. But now it's under artificial intelligence, Cray computers, IBM computers. It has the technology that, again, is in the hands of people who are psychopaths. All right? So, also below ground, that when they were doing the nuclear testing, they forced him to go below ground. And the reason is because the EMP, the electromagnetic pulse, that other countries, even the military themselves, because of that electromagnetic field that was so high intensity that electronic equipment, generators, street lights, communication, phones would burn out. And so it was so destructive. This is one of the reasons they went underground. We need to remember there's iron core, there's lead, there's silver, there's all kinds of minerals in the ground, and in itself help to act as shielding and lessen that effect. So, again, with the CERN, that in itself, that if they wanted to, that it could generate an EMP that could be absolutely devastating to this planet. Now, as I go through this, you'll come to the understanding, as I mentioned before, that they, during the first nuclear detonation, in their equations, in their formulas, they had calculated that they could potentially ignite the atmosphere, and everything as we know it would cease to exist in one flash burn. But they did it anyways. So CERN is no different. Now, when I was talking about with Montauk on the Manhattan Project, that they were also looking at degaussing, the principle of taking a ship that has magnetism and eliminating any magnetic field on it so it wasn't attractive to mines. So the magnetic field would not set mines up. And in that technology was, windings and all kinds of loops, coils, antenna formations. Same thing with the Philadelphia. So there was a lot of technology that was exchanged in that. And so when we look at CERN in itself is in a loop, actually several loops. And in this, again, being of the magnitude and the power and the variances of speed and frequency, then makes it a incredible tool to do absolute terrible harm. Now, whenever you have a loop, whenever you have a coil, I'll hold an extra class amateur radio license. I've been in radio for, 40 years now, more than 40 years. Worked on transmitters. It's a hobby. I love it. It's something that's just part of what I do and who I am as that. And so I have a very good understanding of all this. And Tesla was one who had an advanced understanding. And so whenever, like the Montauk chair, for instance, the coil or the antenna that was surrounding the chair was in a pyramid shape. So with 2 points coming together in an acceleration of field, there's another aspect that takes place that brings it to another level. And so whenever you have these designs, you'll see a pyramid. Now, again, CERN is not in that, but what we have is a crossover to a smaller loop, okay? And so in their understanding and in their technology, that's where I believe they're getting this from. And then remember, too, that this whole thing with Philadelphia and that technology was for the invisibility, okay, as well as the magnification or the demagnification of magnetism. All right, so invisibility, meaning that those things that are particles, those things of visual, those things of radar become invisible. All right, So, with CERN in its several loops, it's just it has a great potential, because remember, it's under an artificial intelligence control, and the power that's generated from it. Okay, so there's CERNs also around the world. It isn't just there in Switzerland, France. Okay, so in their bringing together. Now, let me point something out. Just came to mind. Parabolic dishes. Now, when you have radio telescopes, radio astronomy, you have the ability to listen into the heavens, basically, of any potential radio signal that's out there, whether it's being generated by a quasar, something that's being transmitted from Mars or from Venus, or whatever the situation is. The antennas that are required because of the low-level sensitivities, the low-level radio signals, that what they've done is that there's antennas, parabolics, that are stationed all over the globe, okay, or all over the world, I should say. And with the ability to connect them together, then instead of seeing it as one small antenna, it's now seen as several antennas combined together, giving the appearance of a very large antenna. So now that you have several CERNs, I'm saying that basically what they're doing is that they're making one big giant CERN, even though the one in Switzerland is huge. When you put them all together and you sync them together, I don't know whether you're familiar with this or not, but whenever you have AC current and you need to, let's say, double it up, bring a generator, you can't just hook them together. They have to be in sync with each other, and if they won't, they'll buck each other and they'll destroy each other. There'll be fields of runaway. It's called thermal runaway. Things will heat up, and the next thing you know, they burn up. So with internet, satellites, just actually picking up the signal of the other one, they'll be able to sync them together. So there you go. There's a massive ability. So they're extreme power. Their extreme speed that this is capable of doing, close to light, the extreme focus ability, being able to get it down to a certain point. So it may not be in a large scale, some of the experiments, but it may be in a very small scale, contained to a small area. But whenever you take the dimensions, there's potentially 7 parallel dimensions. When I say parallel, meaning things that are happening at the same time, but they have told and talked more of like 11, 12, 13, but I think that number goes even further. I think they're still holding a lot back. So it's a potential when you focus down through. Like for instance, if you take a knife and you cut it down through an apple, and you're an insect, and you're in that apple in a different place, when the knife comes down through and cuts the apple in two, you're not affected. You don't see it. But let's say you just happen to be right where that knife, as an insect, and you're looking in the direction where the knife comes down, your parallel, your reality, your dimension has been altered. And now, even though you're in the same plane, I'm not talking about being cut in two, I'm talking about being right there to witness the knife go through, you now have opened up another dimension. Okay, does that make a little more sense to you? And so that's kind of what's taking place here. Okay? So just like the Montauk chair, I'm telling you also that the CERN is also under psychic control. Now, along with artificial intelligence that has been recording psychics and their abilities to mind amplify their pineal gland, their ability to astral project, to remote view, that, again, why not have the ability to do it with CERN? Well, of course. Absolutely. So again, there's a whole nother aspect to this that they're not going to talk about, and I just came up with that today. I thought, well, why, if that's what they did at Montauk, then why in the world aren't they, So they have to be, all right. If not, at least the supercomputers. But either way, so that means, ladies and gentlemen, that again with the mind amplifier and the amplitude and all of them around, that the absolute mind control, being again a mind amplifier, that they're able to then target everybody, but not only those within, this world, within this planet. That let's say that then you're able to control the other dimensions. Let's say that you're able to take hold of demons, and now you're able to control demons. You're able to manipulate them. Now, even though they are a spirit, they still have a conscience. Okay, they're still, in their essence, able to think. They're still able to have a personality. And we are a spirit, but in a physical body. And so our mind really is a interface, a human interface. So otherwise your computer, the processor, the memory, the hard drive, what you have is a human interface. That means the keyboard. That means the mouse. That means your display. So you are able to interact with the processor. And so this then would be the same concept. And that in itself upsets me. I now that I think of that all the potential creatures, monsters, just like we talked about the monster that was released at Montauk, that was from the psychic mind. Now, what I think was going on, and you want my opinion, I believe that was something of like Apollyon, something of the destroyer, something that is very dark within those that have not come to the understanding of God and Christ, that darkness in them was released. And this is something that we potentially will see in the last days. Now, with that, the collider, in respect to every bit capable of quantum abilities, where's it end? What's next? What other level are we going to be brought to? Now, does this basically mean the end of life as we know it? Are they trying to create a different realm that we can't even comprehend ourselves? It's just completely unknown to us. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is in the hands of psychopaths. Psychopaths who have been tricked by aliens / reptilians, basically the New World Order Luciferians. All right? And no good is going to come of it. All right? Just as Lucifer himself said that he was going to raise himself above God. So what do we experience? We experience everything from ringing in the ears, cross dimensions, integration, different things coming and going. So what is in the spirit realm can now basically materialize into our physical dimension. Now, I mentioned a couple months back that for the first time in 16 years since my deliverance, that I literally had an entity that was hovering over me, and in itself had such magnetism that it was like trying to pick me up. Now, it failed because there was no fear. Whatever it was, I was willing to do battle with it. And it basically gave up and left, and that works for me because it's the first time that I've ever experienced that. And I believe that is something that has been allowed in from CERN. There are things in this dimension now, things in the spirit realm that encompass our dimension that were not there before. And so just be ready. Again, with quantum mechanics, allowing hyperspace travel, basically time travel as well as going from one place to another, even history can be altered. Even if there was potential, Christ's crucifixion could be altered. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. And it seemed to me that would be advantageous to Lucifer for him to go back and push reset button and keep that from happening. Now that he knows what had happened, just think about that. Now, I believe that God's in control and he's not going to allow that to happen. But think about this. Lincoln's assassination, Kennedy's assassination, World War I, World War II, just all of this could be altered. Everything could be changed. And again, the good news is God is in control. Praise God. However, it does appear with the Mandela effect that there are alterations that have taken place. And so the question is, what is going to happen next? Now, we need to remember this facility literally they've dumped $9 billion into it. Now, if you want my opinion, I think that's a low number. When I worked at the Motorola in Chandler, Arizona, by the time it was up and running, that in itself was $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion for one facility in Chandler, Arizona. So the fact of what they have invested in this, the manpower, just burrowing through the ground and bringing everything into it, $9 billion to me seems awful low. So whatever it is, that $9 billion went towards releasing a monster, and that monster is one of the tools of evil to achieve its goal to be like God. I mean, that's really what it amounts to, because once they have achieved that, then the control and ability to destroy man is exactly what they want. Now, you need to remember, we're nothing more than food for them. We're nothing more than slave. We're nothing more than some kind of sexual gratification. Because when I deal with demons that are perverted, that are in people, and I get those demons to manifest, they really think it's funny that they can make people do perverted things. And they themselves basically, that's a satisfaction for them. Because you need to remember, as a disembodied spirit, without a body, they cannot act out their ugly nature. So those who are in curse, those who are in sin, and the demons have infested them, and again, since the church does not do deliverance, this is at a high number, then the people who are experiencing this are experiencing the demons act out their nature through their body. And that unfortunately means their sexual organs. Now, the battle's in the mind. Okay, so between those things that are taking place, that the mind itself can be absolutely twisted and perverted. All right? Now, I want to bring something out, too. Now, if you're familiar with Stephen Hawking's, his concern was that they were literally going to destroy the universe with CERN. All right? One man noted for his intelligence, for those things of astrophysicists, right? His ability to know things of math, that would take us into a level that most of us could never comprehend. But in his calculations and in his understanding, that he was very concerned of destroying the universe. Okay? Now, I want to point out, too, that there is evidence that Hawking's has been removed. Now, the man that you're seeing now in the chair, the man that you're seeing in the position that he's in, most likely is a clone. Now, the age, the look, his mobility, there was a massive change that took place several years ago, and so Stephen himself, I believe, was trying to make public his concerns of this potential of destroying the universe, and they just basically had to shut him up. And they didn't want to make it look as if they took him out and tried to do a cover-up. So with nanotechnology, with clone technology, with hybrids, I believe that the man that you're seeing now is not the true Stephen Hawkins. All right? And, he's not the only one. There's other scientists out there. And so, they all have their concerns in different levels, because just because they're a man of science doesn't mean they don't believe in the spirit realm. Many of the scientists now have come to an understanding that there is another aspect, there is another realm that keeps proving itself, repeatability. Okay, it's part of the science experience that once something has reappeared over and over again, that the probability of that number shows the potential. And so there's many people now that, being of scientific nature, now do believe in the spirit realm. And so I believe with their witnessing, with their understanding, have seen things take place in their experiments that basically has absolutely convinced them to this point. So this now location of CERN, now I don't know if you're familiar with this, known as the gateway of the underworld. This was in Roman times. This is the Apollo connection. So right there in Switzerland itself has a very deep, dark, we need to understand the Hitler connection through Switzerland, the occult connection. There's a lot of things there in the Swiss Alps, in those mountains, that in underground caves, or I should say caves within the Swiss Alps, that, again, I believe is a direct connection with the Dracos, the reptilians. And there's plenty of information and history to reveal that. So again, that area was considered a gateway of the underworld from the Romans in Roman times. Okay, also referred to as the bottomless pit with Apollyon. Now the book of Revelations refers to Apollyon, the destroyer, Abaddon. Okay, also, that's referred to in Hebrews, and also known as the angel of the bottomless pit. All right, and the book of Enoch describing that those who basically violated mankind were entombed, and there you go. So I believe that's a connection. And so now CERN, with their ability to separate time and space and go into other dimensions, are entombing these beasts, these fallen angels, the ones that basically came into the daughters of men and bore giants, and those giants then defiling. Then, as we read in the book of Giants, then they created monsters. That is exactly how it's written out. And so CERN itself and its logo is 3 6s. Now, it isn't just 666, they're in a rotation, and 2 of them, one's pointing up, one's pointing down. So again, it is so as above, so below. All right? Now, I want to also mention that the mascot, the corporate mascot, because there are, joint corporations as well as government, is the Hindu goddess Shiva. Okay, again, that was a ancient Apollyon, once again a destroyer. Okay, and again, so we have the occult, we have Shiva, we have the gateway, we have Apollyon, we have the same location as Rome, and we have the understanding of this device capable of destroying the universe by Stephen Hawking. 1, 2, 3, ABC. Things are starting to add up. Not a good connection here. Okay. Now I want you to understand that the World Wide Web. Okay, the internet has been around in many forms. It came from the Cold War nuclear defense network. So if one Minuteman missile was taken out, the communication could be automatically rerouted through another site. And when satellites came into operation, they started giving that up to the public, but they still maintained it for communication needs. And so in 1993, the World Wide Web, in its connection, is connected with CERN project, that they were actually using that. So the first website to be established on the World Wide Web was the CERN website. Now that's pretty weird. Now you need to remember too that www, the World Wide Web, that in Hebrew gematria means 666. Now there's some who disagree with that. But again, one more card on the table. Probability, running the numbers, and it's been discussed before. So in my guess and in my belief that yes, that is exactly what it means. Wow. All right. Now let's take another look at things here. Dark matter in itself. Okay. Now we've talked about dark matter before. We've talked about how demons in itself, being in the spirit realm, being that they have a number, an atomic number, they have weight, they have volume. Okay. They are a substance. They are a spirit, but our spirit in our own self, that when we die, that measurements have shown that when a person dies, there's a immediate loss of weight. So, again, spirit being of an essence has some atomic number. Whatever that number is, I'm sure that it's some kind of number that has, can be figured out in gematria. But dark matter, in our understanding, is what is really in relation to demons, of fallen angels, because of their character. So dark matter in itself is 23% of what we know. Dark energy is 73%, okay, with visible matter only being 4%. So otherwise, what you and I can comprehend is only 4%. That's not very much, is it? So anyone that doesn't believe in the spirit realm, well, I'm sorry. The numbers are too high here to look the other way and not even believe in it. So in their hopes of the atom smasher and the separation of matter, then again, when we look at dark matter and we look at the angels that are entombed, the fallen angels, those of the bottomless pit, Apollyon, being released, then in their separation, that basically what they're going to do is they're going to make the chains, they're going to open up the cells, they're going to open up the jails, they're going to open up the pit, and these things are to be released out. So that's not a good thing, right? And we look in the book of Revelation and we can see direct correlation to this. Now note too, there's many theories that say they have no idea what they're absolutely trying to do. Otherwise, they don't know what the consequences are. Well, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. Otherwise, publicly, well, we don't know what's going to happen. No, I'm sorry. Now, see, whenever you have large organizations, you're going to have compartmentalizing. So, yeah, there's going to be engineers, there's going to be physicists, there's going to be scientists. You know, they're just working, thinking they've got a job and all this. But, the guys that are in control, they absolutely know what they're doing. So I'm sorry, they know this, and they know that that us as human beings are going to be basically steamrolled over by this, all right? So you need to also remember that everything that they're doing is under alien assistance, again, /reptilian, the fallen ones. Their guidance, they're the ones doing this, so you can't tell me they don't know what they're doing. Absolutely. So this is a lose-lose for humanity in itself. Not a good situation. No good can come of it at all. Okay, it's also just in time for the end of days, right? I mean, we know in our spirit, we have this sense and we know. Okay, so just think about this. Whole armies of demons under the control of a psychic, artificial intelligence. Again, here's another aspect. Whenever I deal with demons, there's some that are intelligent, that are some actually have a sense of humor, and sometimes I have to bite my lips so I don't laugh. It's weird, but their personalities are very bizarre. Dry humor, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And the point of it is, they don't even like each other. So they're not really working together as a whole, as a team, but they hate us. And so we're the common enemy. So what better way to take an army that's ruthless, there's no honor amongst thieves, and then with this ability with CERN and the psychic ability to control them through artificial intelligence, to get them to do. So this army that's to be released of the fallen ones and of the demons and hybrids in itself, because I've talked about other entities that are out there that are coming through, it's not looking good, and they want revenge, because I've talked about in the book of Enoch of how upset the fallen angels were when God forced their offspring, otherwise the Nephilim, the ones that when they died they became demons, that they turned against each other. They killed each other. That was part of the punishment. And the fallen angels were very upset about that. They saw them as their children. And I've said that the retaliation is for us to turn on ourselves. So CERN in itself, depending on what they're going to do, along with satellite technology and mind control, they virtually could cause people to turn on themselves. Now, if you have the blood covering of Jesus Christ, I do not believe that that's going to happen. But I can assure you that if you have not been through deliverance, if you have not broken curses, though you would not be, quote, possessed because you believe in Christ, you still have times that you act like you're possessed. The anger, the perversion, the addiction. When I do deliverance, you would swear the person sitting in front of me is possessed. But all it is the demon manifesting and acting out their nature using the body. Because your spirit, your soul, once you commit to Jesus Christ, then belongs to God. And so those who are in that, because we need to remember in Revelation 9:10, the tails of the things that look like scorpions that have come out, that when they go to sting men, that they are told that they cannot touch those who have the seal of God upon their forehead. Do you see the connection? All right? So though you may not believe in Jesus Christ, you better start thinking twice about it. I'll tell you what, I would not want to do what I do without the blood. All right? All right, so however, this is going to take place. The point of it is, I would rather have the insurance because I believe in God. I believe in the Word. There's no truth found in Lucifer, but since God is truth, His Word is truth, then I have no choice. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Okay. So they cannot touch those who are sealed. All right? And now, those who have the seal of God on your forehead, we've talked a little bit about, sin and Galatians and everything else, and there's been some opposition to this. But I need to remind you that in order to get a demon out of you, you need to repent. You don't repent, I'm not getting the demon out of you. That demon's in like a tick. So why don't you figure it out yourself? I'm not going to go into that argument right now. So the question is that you? Do you have the seal of God on your forehead, or are you going to be the one that thing's going to sting for 5 months, seek death and not find it? Is that me? I mean, who am I? Right? You're listening to me. Go to your prayer closet and pray about what I tell you. All right? How about your loved ones? What about the rest of humanity? See, the Great Commission is for us to go out and get the lost. I myself see, and day in and day out, how evil works, and how it works is by deception, by lying, by ensnaring, by trapping. And by the way, tripwires, I talk about it next week. What an incredible connection for tripping a tripwire to ensnare. So even though they say that it's to protect from crime, no, it isn't. It's really there to watch you, to entice you, to snare you, to capture you, to blackmail you, and all kinds of things, right? So you need to remember, too, that demons laugh. Whenever I deliver, during a deliverance and there's a manifestation and I question the demon, they're smug, they're haughty, they're proud, and they laugh at what they've done to children. They think it's the funniest thing. Suffocation. They love suffocating. They love destroying. They love sodomizing. They love doing all this stuff, and this is what these people want to unleash on us. So they literally intend to destroy the innocent, being children. So look at pedophilias. Now, you need to understand that those who do it, most likely they had it done to them. There's a curse in the family that's come down through the bloodline. But since they have not been delivered, it has become who they are. Their conscience are seared. Now, there's always going to be divine intervention. There's always going to be those that finally come around, and thank goodness, because God wishes that none should perish. But you need to remember that most of them, unfortunately, are demon-possessed. Many of them are not necessarily human. Let's look at the Bushes, for instance. Bush Sr., there's a pervert for you. The Queen of England herself. The Clintons, look at what's going on now. Other heads of state of government. And these are the ones that are, again, funding, supporting CERN. All right? So, evil itself, to not address evil, means that we're looking the other way and we're allowing evil to prevail. We must address it. We must comprehend it. We must understand it to a point that we get a righteous indignation from it, because God hates the wicked every day, and these people are wicked. All right? So from 1930 to 2016 and going on to 2017, the acceleration of evil has taken place to a whole new level that we have never seen before. Okay? The things that are going on now a decade ago would not have been accepted. But in the past couple of years, with things that have been going on, we're becoming desensitized. Social engineering, part of the psyops, part of reprogramming. They've been working on our kids in schools. Then we look at media, we look at the movies, we look at music. It's just amazing. So unfortunately, the coming generations, not knowing God, not knowing Christ, like Europe. I've met people out of Europe that have never even heard of the word Jesus. I mean, that's amazing. So, you know, the Clintons themselves being responsible for their own actions and doing the things that they're doing along with others of other nations, unfortunately, I just think they're just going to be able to continue as business as usual. Now, you need to remember, too, the Clintons were very heavily involved in selling secret technology that would help other countries to do the evil acts. Again, with CERN, again, with nuclear technology, with ammunitions, with armament, with, you know, things that would allow them to overtake a village, a country, an area, to basically, you know, rape and pillage. Because whenever you have the people of that country and a country takes it over and it's by a tyrant group of people, the people suffer. And there's going to be, you know, death. It's going to be rape, molestation. It's just hideous. And believe me, the Clintons, if you voted for them or think that there's okay, please, in God's name, look, I'm not going to support Trump. I'm not going to support the Bushes. Anyone that's in that position, and I know it may bother you that I don't support Trump, but I've seen enough of him. I've seen his manifestations. I deal with the evil every day, and I know a bad apple when I see one. And I can't say it any other way. Okay? So to understand that these are all psychopaths, they're all involved in perversion, they're all sodomites. That is the way that it is. Okay? And unfortunately, they're most likely going to get away with it with the public, but they will not with God. He will strike when he's ready. It's on his time. So the question is, are you ready? Are you clean in your spirit? Are you ready to fight? Okay, because look, the fight has only begun. Okay, note that we are all in this together. So I don't care, you know, if you're in the occult, if you're an atheist, if you're a Catholic, whatever the situation is. If you're human, we're in this together. Okay, there's no other way to look at this. And there's no other way to do this except through Jesus Christ. Please understand that I'm trying to help you in of getting yourself right, that in the potential of losing your life through this, you'll save it, because you'll then be in the Abraham's bosom. You'll be in the presence of the Most High God in the right way. Okay, time's running out. Okay, everyone gets that, again, little thing in their spirit and their stomach. They know things are wrong. Something's wrong. No matter who you are, I know you know in your spirit something's wrong. So I'm saying the choice is Jesus Christ, not Lucifer. Okay? And the question is, what is your choice? My choice is to serve the Most High God with Jesus Christ, and there's no other way to look at it. All right, so thank you for listening for the Montauk. I hope I was able to put things together that you have a better understanding, the connection all the way back from 1930, Tesla, coming up through, you know, the Philadelphia experiment, the Phoenix projects, coming up through CERN, MK Ultra. All of the stuff now today, again, is for the New World Order. They want to eliminate between 6 and 7 billion people, bringing it down to about 500 million. That's what the Georgia Guidestones say. And whatever that is, I'm going to continue my faith in God through Jesus. And when the time is ready, that when I'm called, I hope to be clean enough, strong enough, and able to fight, to stand against the wiles of the enemy. And that's where I want you. I can't say it any other way. And again, I want to thank everyone for supporting. The ability to pray for people is, well, it's worth its weight in gold, because there's so many people now who are set free, and it's because of you helping me that this has been successful. So I thank you again. All right, have a good weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.